Welcome back to another episode of Know Your SMS with Vikram Upadhyaya, where we decode everything you need to know about building, funding, and scaling a successful venture. Today, we're diving into a topic that excites every entrepreneur: raising Series A funding. It's that defining milestone when an investor sees promise in your startup and decides to back it with real capital. For most founders, it feels like a dream come true. Finally, the chance to scale operations, recruit the best talent, and move into a new growth orbit. But before you pop the champagne, let's take a closer look at what really happens when you take on external investors. The first big shift: you're no longer the sole decision maker. When investors invest money, they also take a stake in the company. That means they now have a say in how the company is run. You're not just financially accountable, you're strategically accountable. Every major decision that impacts the business now involves another voice at the table. And while that might sound intimidating, it's also an opportunity to bring tremendous value on board, provided you're prepared for it. One major part of this process is due diligence. It's long, detailed, and yes, a little exhausting. But it's crucial. Investors want to validate every claim you make about your product, your financials, your team before they commit. If you're not transparent or if you're unprepared, the deal can fall through. So be ready to roll up your sleeves, burn the midnight oil, and get everything in order. Now let's talk about discipline, specifically financial discipline. Once you've raised funds, don't expect the entire amount to land in your account at once. Most of the time, investments are released in stages, based on performance milestones. This brings much needed accountability to how money is spent. And since this is OPM, other people's money, you're not just morally obligated, but legally bound to use the funds exactly as committed in your shareholder agreement. Deviating from this can raise red flags and erode trust. That's why it's essential to educate yourself on key terms of the shareholder agreement before you even begin fundraising. Now, here's the good part. Having investors on board can dramatically change your hiring game. Until now, maybe you couldn't afford top-tier talent. But with investor backing, you'll be expected and able to bring in the best minds. Investors know that great talent is the engine of a successful startup. That's why startups like Flipkart, Ola, and others have recruited from top institutions and industry veterans. And it's not just about compensation. Being a funded startup often reduces the perceived employment risk, making it easier to attract ambitious professionals. More than money, investors often bring something priceless: experience. If your investor has helped scale other startups, you now have a mentor and a powerful network to lean on. That's a game changer. You get insights, introductions, and strategic guidance that money can't always buy. But here's something founders often overlook. Investors don't stay forever. Their goal is to exit, ideally with significant returns. So from the very beginning, you need to have a clear roadmap for how and when that exit will happen. What's your Series B plan? What's the succession strategy once they leave? These are hard questions, but essential ones. So yes, raising Series A is a celebration-worthy moment, but it's also a responsibility. It marks the beginning of a more structured, disciplined, and growth-driven journey. You gain not just funds, but also expectations and the trust of someone who believed in your vision. Treat that trust with respect. Be transparent, be accountable, and most importantly, stay true to the mission that brought you here in the first place. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Startup Playbook. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else chasing the startup dream. Until next time, keep building, keep growing,